Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and today we're going to be doing an update in my Pan Those Eyeshadows Project Pan. This is a project that was created a number of years ago now by Alexy. She is a phenomenal panner here on both YouTube as well as over on Instagram. In fact, she and Rebecca Morgan, who often team up together for projects, that's actually where I learned about this particular project, was from Rebecca Morgan, but they actually have a Discord server as well. So they are kind of a panning hub, which is very exciting. They are both really fantastic project panners. So I will make sure to link them both in the description box below, just as I always do. This is a project that is geared specifically towards hitting pan on eyeshadow, as the name would imply. But it has a randomized factor to it. A lot of people do this project in a lot of different ways. This is actually my third year working on this project. The first year that I did this, I focused specifically on my limited edition and discontinued eyeshadow palettes. Last year I did all of my eyeshadow palettes, and this year I'm focusing specifically on my single eyeshadows because they unfortunately are some of my favorite eyeshadows, and yet they get some of the least amount of love. So I love that I am shining the light on them this year and really focusing in on them. If you are new, welcome. I am so excited that you decided to click on this video. And if you have not yet subscribed, I hope that you'll consider doing so before you leave. And without further ado, let's talk about my project and the fact that I'm tripping over my words. So my husband decided that he was really wanting some Chick-fil-A today. And I'm not gonna lie, I have been wanting to try their grilled spicy deluxe. It is, by the way, delicious. But he thought that I would, for some reason, want a supersized combo. So I have been drinking on this Dr. Pepper for a while now, and I very rarely drink soda. So I'm a little hopped up on sugar and caffeine, and it's amazing. But it also makes me a little erratic. So let's talk about my progress. I am currently working on 6 eyeshadows, and I have a variety of goals when it comes to the single eyeshadows that I'm working on. For many of them, they are going to be to hit pan, but I do have some that are number goals as well. I do also have a couple of my own sort of kind of stipulations, I guess. I'm not going to be panning anything that is a black eyeshadow or a white eyeshadow or kind of a cream colored eyeshadow. Those are no fun to watch. I have ones that I just work on anyway. So those I'm automatically going to be kicking out, but I've also said that I'll give myself 4 vetoes for the year. So if I draw something, I'm like, not feeling it, or if I've been working on it and I'm like, not using it, then I have the ability to veto 4 times. And if I hit 30 uses and I haven't hit pan yet, I have the option of rolling that out at that point. So now that we've covered all that, let's talk about our eyeshadows. So the first one that we are going to talk about did have a number goal with it. This is from Sydney Grace. This is, come on. Are we gonna? No. I think my camera has had a little bit of Dr. Pepper. Let's try this again. There we go. This is by Sydney Grace. This is in the shade Glitz and Glamour, and this is honestly one of my very favorite eyeshadows in the entirety of my collection. So I was a little bit nervous about trying to hit pan on her because I didn't want to be rid of her quite yet, especially since a lot of times with indie eyeshadow brands, they tend to retire shades and colors and formulas and things like that, and this is no exception. This is an eyeshadow that is no longer available on the Sydney Grace website. So I said I was only going to use it 15 times before rolling it out of the project. And last month I used it a total of 7 times for 12 overall. So we are staying in the project and continuing to just love on this beautiful, beautiful eyeshadow. I am a big fan. The next eyeshadow in this project that I am attempting to hit goal on is this right here. This is by Colored Rain, and this is in the shade Green Valley. This did not get a lot of love last month, unfortunately. This only got used twice. I just wasn't working a lot with these types of colors. I'm also panning eyeshadows in some of my other projects, so I'm trying to find a way to kind of incorporate as much as possible. And sadly, this beautiful chartreuse did not really fit in with some of those looks that I was panning, but it is an absolutely stunning eyeshadow and I do love it very much. So don't let the fact that I only used it twice make you feel like I don't enjoy the shadow. However, if I'm gonna hit pan or even hit 30, I really do need to find a way to incorporate this more often because I've only used it 7 times since the project began. So still have a long ways to go on that one. The next shadow that I am working on in this project is this one right here. This is from Adept Cosmetics. This is in the shade ACS 26. As you should, or you might have been able to see before it went out of focus, I do have a lovely little dip going on in her. This one I have used 4 times since our last update. This does actually integrate better with some of the other shadows that I'm working on because it does have kind of a grungy sort of quality to it, which is really, really nice. So as you can see, those there. I do sometimes like to layer Green Valley and the Adept Cosmetics shadow together because they pair together very, very nicely. So I did use that a total of 4 times since our last update for a total of 12 in the course of this project. I do still want to hit pan on this one here. The one that I am closest to hitting pan on is this from ColourPop. This is in the shade Too Much. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. I hope you can, but there is a really, really good dip going on in here. I really like this shadow a lot. I don't enjoy the glitter that's in it. It just dusts off while I'm blending and gets all over my face, so I don't really appreciate that so much. But the tone of this shadow is wonderful. I absolutely love the tone of this. And when it blends out in such a nice way that it almost looks like more complex. So it almost looks like I'm wearing more than one shadow. So this is a really fun shadow to work with and I do really enjoy it. I'm very much hoping that I can hit pan on it next month because I feel like we're getting close. But as I've said, especially in some of my other updates, ColourPop shadows are surprisingly deep. So I have hopes, but I'm not incredibly confident, if that makes sense. The next shadow that I was working on in this project that I'm not going to swatch is this one right here. This is just a no-name eyeshadow. I don't even know where it came from. On the back, I'll show you what it says. It says Shell and then it's got some numbers. Hopefully you can see that, not too much reflection. That might work. So I don't know what it is or where it came from, but it's a confusing shadow, to be honest with you. How I've used it is really just sort of buffing out between where my eyeshadow ends and my brow bone. It gives kind of a subtle highlight and helps to blend out the edges. So for that, I have liked being able to use it. But it's funny because it doesn't seem like it has really much of any pigment to it, which is why I'm not swatching it. So I've used it in that way. It's not really bright enough for an inner corner highlight. I've tried using it as an actual highlighter. It really doesn't do much there. And because it's got that sort of lilac-y undertone, it just sits on my skin a little bit strangely. So I've tried at some suggestions to put it over like a black base. I tried black eyeshadow, I tried black eyeliner, and it just makes it kind of blah and gray. Like it doesn't, oftentimes when you have shades that are kind of sparkly but don't have a lot of like base pigment, when you layer them over something darker, it really kind of brings out the vibrance. This doesn't do that. It's a confusing shadow. Now, I did use it a total of 16 times since our last check-in, which does bring, thankfully, does bring my total up to 30. So I'm exercising my rule that says that if I use it 30 times and I haven't hit pan, I can go ahead and roll it out. Because if you noticed when I brought the shadow up close for you, there isn't there's barely even a whisper of a dent. Like, it hardly looks used, and I've used it 30 times. I think it would probably take me the entirety of the year to even come close to hitting pan, and that's just not a commitment that I want to be making. So we're out. The last shadow that I've been working on, I did also have a number goal for, and that is this insane beauty right here. This is from Terra Moon's Cosmetics, and it is in the shade Light Year, and you guys, it is fantastic. Fantastic. I cannot more highly recommend this shadow or this shadow formula. Like, I barely touched it. I barely touched it. And look at that. It is all over my finger. I'm going to swatch it next to, I don't know if you can see it real well. It really lends itself nicely, especially to being over something else. But it is full of just all of this beautiful, multi-dimensional gorgeousness. Love it. It is phenomenal. I had a goal of only using it 5 times because it's definitely a shade that I'm not trying to part with anytime soon. So I did use it 2 times since our last update, bringing it to a total of 5. So it is going to be rolling out of this project as well. So very, very excited. I don't have any looks to show you like I did last time because, to be honest, I've been using all of these eyeshadows in the exact same way that I did last month, and I really didn't want to be redundant, so I didn't take really any pictures. So I apologize if you were looking forward to that. I just wasn't really all that creative last month. It's been a month for sure. So it does mean, though, that we get to choose 2 more eyeshadows. So let me pull up my Pretty Random app. I have already gone in and put in the variables of 1 through 264. So we're going to randomize 2 new shadows. So let's go ahead and start with, is that 251 and 16. So I'll go ahead and jump off camera and we'll go ahead and we'll figure out what those are. All right, we are back, and I'm still going to stick with the colors that I rolled. However, I did want to mention I didn't actually include all of the eyeshadows that I own because I'm a dork and just stopped at the wrong palette. So if you caught last month and you're like, wait, what happened to like a ton of your eyeshadows? It's because I'm not real bright. But wow, did I happen to roll 2 just polar opposite different types of eyeshadows. So don't mind the terrible swatching. These are the 2 new shadows that we are going to be adding into rotation. So the darker of the 2 was number 16, and that comes to us from Lethal Cosmetics. This is in the shade Nocturnal. It is a very, very, very deep brown. The way I described it when I reviewed these 2 years ago is that it's almost like a burnt brown. So if you can see, it's got that really brown characteristic, but it's almost like it's been charred. So kind of like, you know, when you've been camping or you've got a campfire, taking a little bit of that charred wood and kind of rubbing it on the ground, it has that same sort of quality to it. So it's going to be very interesting to pair with the eyeshadows that I have already in my rotation. And I'm kind of excited to see those kinds of looks because I really do have a lot of just very kind of deep, cool tone, grungy colors going on, not just in my Pan Those eyeshadows, but certainly in some of my other projects. So they're going to go very interestingly together. And then the other side, this just bubblegum pink, super reflectiveness comes to us from Terra Moon's. This is called Ruby Stars. This is so out of the box for me. This is not the kind of shade, This is not the kind of shade that I often wear. So this is going to be really, really interesting. Really interesting. So my prediction, I am going to set a goal of hitting pan on both of these. However, as I mentioned in my last update, I don't actually foresee that happening. I have a feeling that I'm going to hit the 30 usages on many of these eyeshadows rather than hitting pan. And I'm kind of okay with that, only because, as I said in the very beginning, I haven't given nearly enough time and love to my single eyeshadows. Case in point, where did I put my Lethal Cosmetics little magnetic palette? I got these, there it is. I got these 2 years ago-ish. They don't look used. I mean, they don't look used. And that's because they really haven't been. I bought them, I used them, I reviewed them, loved them, bought something new, reviewed it, loved it, bought something new. You catch the trend here. So even though I don't foresee myself actually hitting pan on many of these eyeshadows, I'm still very excited to be getting more use out of them and really just, you know, showing them love. I feel like I'm being redundant. Anyway, as always, everything that I am panning as well as everything that I'm wearing on my face will be linked in the description box below, along with anyone who has inspired me, because I feel like it's really great to shout each other out. So Rebecca and Alexy will be in my description box below as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope that you are having an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye.